My next topic really is on this whole, which become a saga with Terence Crawford and the WBC. Now, if you haven't heard, the WBC um, has stripped Terence Crawford of the WBC's super middleweight belt, and the reason Mauricio Suleiman gave was because Terence Crawford did not pay the sanctioning fee. Now, I promoted many fights in a bunch of different states. And whenever we had title fights on it, I paid the sanctioning fee. Now, maybe I was a jerk and I paid it, but a lot of these bigger, apparently, because I was corrected, I made a statement on social media, but apparently a lot of the fighters now are responsible for the sanctioning fee, which surprises the hell out of me because most fighters, they don't want to pay for anything. Terence Crawford didn't pay, and it has to be in the contract, by the way, who pays for that. And apparently it was in the contract, and Terence Crawford did not pay. So they stripped him. And Terence Crawford basically says, hey, you want me to have your belt? Why should I pay you X amount of money just to fight for the belt? Now, here's the thing. I want to point out that Floyd Mayweather Jr., who, I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm not a big fan of him. But he wasn't paying sanctioning fees. When they had that belt, they created a belt, and for Pacquiao and Mayweather, there was no sanctioning fee. Floyd Mayweather made a point that says, hey, I'll fight for your title. I'm promoting your titles by winning them. Now, Floyd got himself in a position where he didn't care about the belts, and neither did his fans. His fans, or the people that wanted to see him get his ass kicked, would watch him fight whether there was a belt on the line or not. And then you go back in the history of boxing, there's all of the fighters that have made it to a certain plateau in boxing don't need a stinking belt. They'll still have the fanfare. I mean, look at Mickey Ward and Arturo Gotti. I mean, there's not many other sets of fights where, trilogies that, fighters fought and people loved them, or even two fights, and people loved both for 3 fights, that there were no belts on the line. Who cared? We got treated to some great fights, and the thing is, you go through Mike Tyson. Do you think Mike Tyson needs to fight for a title to draw people? When you get to a certain Manny Pacquiao, do you think he needs people? Even Floyd, you think he needs a title? If he decided to make a comeback, people are going to go watch him to either win or lose. Manny Pacquiao, people go watch him. They don't need a title. It's sad because what I read between the lines is that they're selling the titles. You're buying the titles. Look, I was honest and told you guys that basically you're bribing, okay, if there's not a better word, bribing. Yeah, Augie, I'm saying it. My man Augie, my main man from Riverhead, he's always worried that I shouldn't be as honest as I am, but I am. And they're bribing their positions in the ranking systems to get shots, and then they have to pay for the title. Why don't you just put a price tag on the title and let people just buy them? It aggravates the hell out of me when I see, a ranking where you have a couple of guys, you have spaces in between the rankings that they're not rated. What does that tell you? And Mauricio Suleiman, who I happen to like, is not. I think he's got egg on his face. I'm shocked at how many people are turning on Terence Crawford because of this. Oscar De La Hoya, some of the other promoters, some of the other fighters. You got to pay for it. Listen. When you get to a certain point, do you think Canelo Alvarez has to fight for a title to have people want to watch them? You know, do you think if Bivol and Beterbiev go for the third fight and there's no title on the line, do you think no one's going to watch it? Do you think the promoter can't sell it? Do you think the network or the streaming service can't sell it? Come on. Come on. I'm going to jump into the fight league in a second, but this is all the same types of reasons why sanctioning bodies have squeezed and choked the sport of boxing to almost death. All right? The truth of the matter is that they are the ones that are destroying the sport. We don't need 4, 5, 6, 10 sanctioning bodies. We don't need that many. You need one. Boom Boom Mancini said it best. There should be one world title. There's only one world. Why did all of a sudden, when I'm going to be getting into some stuff a little later, I'm going to point out, when you look at these sanctioning bodies right now, if you go up and you really want to look at all of them, if you go to a website that displays all the 4 major sanctioning bodies, WBC, WBO, IBF, and WBA, you'll see that they have their champions, and then most of them have more than one champion. Like, for example, there's a world heavyweight title fight going on this weekend. I forget if it's Friday or Saturday. I'll talk about it in a minute. But it's for the WBA's, get this, boys and girls, regular world heavyweight title, not to be confused with the world heavyweight title that Usyk has for the WBA. The WBC, I believe they have they have an interim champion, so conceivably, for just the heavyweights, if you have 4 sanctioning bodies and you just deal with the world heavyweight champion and, let's say, an interim, we won't even get to regular, because the WBA could have their super world champion, their regular world champion, an interim world champion, and a champion in recess, and a champion of Murtai. They could have technically 5 heavyweights. This is one sanctioning body, by the way. 5 heavyweights that walk around and say they're the WBA world champion. Now, the others definitely have at least 2, if not more. So, this is what happens when you have these sanctioning bodies. And then, okay, you didn't pay your fine. You don't have our belt anymore. Give us our belt back. Wait a minute. He won the belt in the ring. All right. The politics and the business side of it about the sanctioning fees. Well, on the one hand, I do agree, if Terence Crawford signed a contract that stipulated that he was supposed to pay, that kind of changes it, because I'm all for living up to what you sign for a contract. I just don't like when people complain after they sign. Jesus says, was Charlo paying sanctioning fees for holding on to the belt so long, for getting drunk? Yeah, and that's another thing. They're supposed to, if you don't make the defense or whatever, they're supposed to strip you of it. And there's been many cases where they didn't. As a matter of fact, if I recall correctly, I believe Floyd Mayweather was allowed to hold on to 2 different weight division titles from the same sanctioning body for an extended amount of time. He says, Jesus says, Billy, boxing people don't like Dana White, Turkey Al-Rashid, therefore they're hating on Crawford. Well, look, Dana White, I'm going to jump. Let me just finish with Crawford, because I'm going to jump on that in a second. Terence Crawford, I say this. I applaud Terence Crawford, because Terence Crawford is doing more for the sport of boxing by making a stand. Now, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but he's doing more for the sport of boxing for making a stand than the guys that just suck it up and write the check. All right. Terence Crawford challenged himself by moving up all those weight classes to fight Canelo Alvarez. If you recall, it took him 2 years to fight this guy. Canelo didn't. Everybody was laughing. People were scared for Crawford. Crawford wins. People didn't give Terence Crawford the credit all the way up to that fight. Then I even saw posts. There were people that were actually posting that they said the fight was close. The fight wasn't close. They tried. The judges gave as many rounds as they could, and it still wasn't close. If Canelo made that fight a little closer, chances are Crawford would have been robbed. Okay, Crawford would have been robbed. The fight was in Canelo, Canelo's favor with the judges, and they tried their hardest and they couldn't. They couldn't. I mean, come on. The truth of the matter is, yeah. And he's just saying WBC should have made an exception on Crawford for being for doing something special for the history of the sport. Right. When other fighters did it, didn't they create the diamond belt, the WBC diamond belt? What the hell is that? The truth of the matter is fights are won. And I believe that Terence Crawford has gotten to the point where I don't care if he's got a belt. He's still, in my opinion, the best fighter out there, pound for pound, right now. I mean, you could make an argument for Inoue. Okay, you could throw Bam Rodriguez in there, but are they really better than Terence Crawford? Have they done what he's done? And when you look at his record, and this is the other thing that kills me, because I hear people tell me this all the time. Oh, he never fought anybody. Look at his record. Well, that's bullshit. Okay, if you look at his record, you'll see that he fought every one of his fights that he fought, especially the title fights, were all substantial fights. They were all against opponents that, were the top choices. And remember, when he made his first appearance on Showtime, the very first time, and I believe it was 4 fights after that. So for his first 3 more fights. So for his first 4 fights that he made, he was brought in as the B-side. He wasn't even supposed to win. And then all of a sudden, they're like, no, maybe this kid from Omaha, Nebraska isn't that bad. And then he became the A-side. And like I've said time and time before, his biggest mistake was signing with Top Rank. Why is that a big mistake? Because Top Rank didn't keep him busy enough. So I don't think people realized how good he was. I think the world saw how great he was when he beat Canelo. Now, I'm not, taking anything away from Canelo because Canelo has fought everybody too. Even though, towards this latter part of his career, he's been kind of, pussyfooting around a little bit. But Terence Crawford did what no other fighter to date in the last 15 years has done. Name another fighter that's out there right now that has challenged himself the way Terence Crawford. You know who I could say is doing that? Even though I don't think he's ready to, but you know who I could say? David Benavidez. David Benavidez was a super middleweight. Canelo wouldn't fight him. Moved up to light heavyweight. Won a title there. Now his next fight, cruiserweight. I got to give him credit for that. Even though he's a bigger guy, you still got to give him credit. So now, Terence Crawford. The sanctioning bodies are hating on him. The promoters are hating on him. I'm not hating on him. And you know who else isn't hating on him? Dana White and Zuffa Boxing and hopefully Turki Al-Rashid.